Well, hello, folks. The bad news is that Liverpool are back in action tomorrow after stinking out the gaff for the whole month of October. Spooky season continues, and Liverpool may lose another game of football. You may have to sit through another 90 minutes of bad football. The other bad news, I suppose, is that they are playing Crystal Palace, who they have already lost twice against this season. They lost to them in the Community Shield and then in the Premier League, which started off this terrible, terrible run about a month ago that is still going on. Now, the good news, though, or it may be good news, is that it is only the Carabao Cup and they can't lose any more ground in the Premier League title race tomorrow evening. However, you could flip that and say with them 7 points behind, maybe the Carabao Cup is a competition that they should be trying to win. Maybe it is their best chance of silverware this season. A few of the big guns out of the cup already, and obviously Liverpool have been to the final quite a few times in the last few years. Obviously not winning it last year, but winning it the year before. Liverpool clearly like this competition. I always think it sets them up for success in the second half of the season, with the final being in around February. But Arne Slot's approach to this competition has been one of meh, can't really be bothered. You think last season the draw was probably kind to Liverpool, but Slot would rest a lot of the key men, and rightly so, I think. And he did the same in the FA Cup, which ultimately led to their demise away at Plymouth. What a long, long way away Plymouth is in terms of geographically. That is what a long time ago that feels like now. It was only a few months ago. A lot has happened since then. Liverpool have won a Premier League title, and now everyone is doom and gloom. So, what does Arne Slot do with his 11 tomorrow? That's what we want to discuss on this video. We're going to go through it position by position. And this is what I think Arne Slot will pick. This is not, disclaimer, what I would pick. I can't decide. Do you, completely toss off the Carabao Cup and make 11 changes or however many changes and probably go out because Crystal Palace are a good team. However, if you look at Crystal Palace's form, you have to say they have dipped slightly in the last few weeks. Maybe they're also in need of resting players. If Palace play their best team, they will probably win. If they make changes, then fair enough, it is even. Slot has to balance that with completely tossing it off, or the thought that this could be the best chance of winning silverware this season. They're 7 points behind Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal have their flaws, but it looks at the moment like they're going to romp home with the title. We are only in October, so it's early days. I am not ruling Liverpool out of the title race just yet, by the way. Maybe ask me in a fortnight after the games against Villa and Man City. And is this the best chance? Maybe. Mention the Premier League there, Champions League. If they play like they have done for the first 3 months of the season, there's no way they're going to win the Champions League. You have to be more defensively solid to win those games. You have to be more clinical at the other end to win that tournament, as Liverpool know, as Paris Saint-Germain found out last season. And the FA Cup, obviously, it's a cup competition. Anything can happen there. Upsets are always just around the corner, as we saw in Plymouth last season. Although, as I alluded to a minute ago, Plymouth is not just around the corner. So let's get into it. This is the 11 that I think Arne Slot will pick tomorrow at Anfield against Palace. In goal is Freddie Woodman for a debut. I think this one is probably the easiest one to pick. Even though it might sound controversial, why would you not pick the best available goalkeeper? Slot has made it clear in the past, and the noises in the last week have been that whoever his second choice goalkeeper is at the time will play in the cup competition. So last season we saw that when Vítězslav Jaros played, I think it was down at Brighton, when Alisson was injured. Obviously, as we know, Alisson is injured again. And Georgi Mamardashvili, who, to be fair, I thought had a good game. He was among a very, 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 very small number of Liverpool players to leave Brentford with any credit on Saturday evening. Made some good saves, a couple from Mikael Damsgaard in general. But I do think he will get a rest for this one. Freddie Woodman to make his Liverpool debut. He is put into the category of the sort of, keepers winding down in later football in life, should we say. by being a third choice keeper. We've seen it with, who have we seen it with? Adrian, although he was not third for the whole time he was at Liverpool. We've seen it with Tom Heaton, Lee Grant at Man United, Scott Carson, Richard Wright before that at Man City. And there's plenty more around England at the moment. These sort of veteran goalkeepers, Rob Green did it at Chelsea for a bit, didn't he, as well? Mark Schwarzer, who are winding down at big clubs. But Freddie Woodman is only 28, and he's had a good career. He was, I think he won, he was nominated for a Golden Boy Award in the FIFA under 20s World Cup, was it, back in 2017, I want to say? And he was tipped for big things. And he's had a decent career, let's not get it wrong. He's played a lot of games for Swansea, Preston, teams in and around the Championship mid-table. So he's an experienced goalkeeper. And from everything we hear, he's been a big member of the dressing room in terms of keeping the standards high. Although the standards haven't been too high so far this season, I think it's fair to say. But Freddie Woodman, for me, will make his debut onto right-back, which I think is actually one of the toughest calls in this team. Jeremy Frimpong, as we know, is injured and he is out for a while. More details to come on that in the coming days. Conor Bradley, therefore, is the only recognised right-back at the club. Dominic Szoboszlai has played there, but Dominic Szoboszlai, for me, is number one on my list to be wrapped up in cotton wool at home on the sofa, have a rest, come back on the weekend fit and firing. He's been Liverpool's best player this season. So I think that Calvin Ramsey, who has been playing for the academy, the under-21s recently, is in with a big chance of playing this game. The only problem is whether that is from the start or whether he comes on at half time, after an hour. I think it may be the latter, and Conor Bradley starts, and then Calvin Ramsey comes into the team later on. It could also be the other way around, of course. I thought what was telling about this is in the 4-1 win over Everton in the under-21s mini derby on Sunday, Calvin Ramsey was substituted after an hour. So clearly, maybe Rob Page has had a word from the first team coaching setup. Just go easy on him in this game, please. Calvin Ramsey, as we know, is now 22. He's been on loan at multiple clubs. I'm not going to go through them all, but there's loads of clubs up and down leagues. Wigan, Kilmarnock, Bolton, there's loads. He's been everywhere. And he's never really had what you would describe as a pleasing loan spell. And that's mainly been down to fitness issues and injury. And he'll get injured 3 or 4 weeks into a loan spell, and then someone else will budge him out of the team, and then he can't get back into it when he gets fit. So a frustrating few years for Calvin Ramsey. But this is a big chance for him. I think he'll be in the squad, definitely. And he'll want to get his career back on the upward trajectory. He's been doing well for the 21s this season. I've watched him a couple of times. He's done very well. He's been in and around the goals as well with assists and a couple of goals too. So I'm going with Conor Bradley, but Ramsey to come on in the second half. Centre halves, I think this one is fairly easy. I think Virgil van Dijk will definitely be rested, and I think the same can be said about Ibrahima Konate, who has played nearly every minute of Premier League and Champions League action this season so far. Both of them poor in terms of their form. Both of them, I think, could do with a rest, both physically, mentally, and just a little reset on the sidelines for a game. And it is only the Carabao Cup, so it's one of those. It's great competition to win, but if you go out in the early rounds, no one really looks back at the end of the season and goes, unless you're, a mid-table club like an Everton or a Fulham or Brentford, who won't be troubling the scorers in terms of getting into Europe. You'd want your team to have a cup run, so you'd say play your best 11. So I think them two will be rested, and I think that leaves Joe Gomez and Wataru Endo, whichever way around you want to look at it, to play the centre-back roles. I think that pretty much sorts itself out, to be honest. One thing I would say on Joe Gomez while we're here is, does he deserve a place in a Premier League 11 some point soon? Because Konate and Virgil have not been good. I'm not by any chance saying drop Virgil van Dijk, by the way. I'm just saying, is it time for a little bit of rotation with Konate? Give Gomez a go. he can't be much worse than how Liverpool are defending so far this season. Left back, I'm going to go with Andy Robertson. Again, he's got to be in the team on Saturday for me. But just because Kirk had started the game on Saturday, I would say Robertson to come back in for the midweek game. Robertson had his best game of the season away at Frankfurt last week and then was dropped again. I didn't really understand that, to be honest. I thought Kirkez was poor. Kirkez, of course, has had a couple of good games this season, but he's not looked anything like the wing-back that Liverpool thought they were signing in the summer. I'm sure with time he will come good. You have to be patient with all these players. But so far, it's not been good. And Robertson, for me, starts the next 2 games. If I was Slot, that is exactly what I'll do. I'll give him 60 minutes on Wednesday and the full match, or at least starting on Saturday against Villa. Then to the holding midfielders, I'm going with Alexis McAllister. He simply needs to build up his fitness. It'd be great if he could get 90 minutes under his belt in this game. I think he's been in and out of the team so far this season, the first team that is. He's definitely not looked anywhere near his best, but I do think it is down to the lack of a pre-season, the same as we're seeing with Alexander Isak, with even looking further afield. Johan Visser's not kicked a ball for Newcastle yet, and there's plenty of players who have been quite slow building up this season. Alexis is definitely one of them. It's a bit windy in here, isn't it? That door keeps opening. So Alexis to play and Trey Ione to play next to him. I've watched a lot of Trey this season. I've watched all of his games in the UEFA Youth League, three games and 3 brilliant performances. I think he is almost certain to be starting this game. He started against Southampton in the last round. A brilliant footballer, and what I would say about him is I don't know what his best position is, and that is meant as a compliment because he can play deep, he can play forward. I've seen him play out wide. I've seen him play. He's even played in a front 2 in friendlies. He's brilliant. He looks like he should be bullied off the ball because he's a small lad. He's not got much about him physically, but he's so good and he can get out of gaps and he makes everything look so easy. He almost plays in slow motion. Brilliant footballer. Look forward to seeing him tomorrow. I do think he'll play. And now for the forward line, which I think is the hardest part of the team to predict because we don't know about the fitness of Alexander Isak. Is he fit to play? Is he fit to play half an hour tomorrow? We don't know. The same, by the way, on Ryan Gravenberch. The same, by the way, on Curtis Jones. So on both of them, on all 3 of those, I'm going to presume that they are not fit. That's not to say that they are not fit because Ryan was hopeful of playing at Brentford. He obviously didn't make it. Curtis Jones was hopeful that he hadn't done anything too seriously, but he did ask to be substituted at Brentford. Based on that, I don't think that Curtis will be risked in this game, especially after he's played the last 2 from the start. I think he's due a rest even if he is fit. And Isak, we're just not sure. So I'm going to presume that Isak is not fit, and that's why I'm going to start Hugo Ekitike as a striker. And I would say bring him off after 60 minutes. Who comes on for him? I hear you asking. Well, it all depends on who is playing. Chiesa on the right, Rio on the left, Florian Wirtz down the middle. Maybe a few eyebrows raised at that. Is it too strong? I don't think there is any such thing as too strong, by the way. It's just basically definitely Chiesa starts, definitely Rio starts, and just who else is there to play as the number 10? Florian Wirtz, for me, needs confidence. He needs minutes to build up that bank of getting ready for English football against a tough team, by the way, in Palace. And I think that he should be, again, 60 minutes maybe for him and Hugo. Chiesa, it'd be good to have 90 minutes under his belt. Rio Ngamoa didn't do much when he came off the bench against Brentford at the weekend, but obviously he's a brilliant footballer, great talent. It'd be good to see him again. I think that's the team. There's a few if, buts and maybes. I thought it was interesting, by the way, that Liverpool LFC TV put out an interview with Trent Cohn-Doherty. I spoke to him myself last week out in Frankfurt. Brilliant lad, brilliant footballer, and arguably getting better and better. He's certainly knocking on the door of being on the bench. Kieran Morrison was on the bench at Brentford. I'd be surprised if we don't see him on the bench again here against Palace. Keyrol Figueroa scored a hat-trick in the under-21s derby on Saturday. Has that done enough to earn him a place on the bench? Cade Gordon, does he get a place on the bench? These are all if, buts and maybes, but I think a few of them are definitely knocking on the door. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an academy defender on the bench. Obviously, Reece Williams has been playing a lot this season. Wellerty Lucky, I like the looks of him. Amar Ronaldo made his debut for the first team last season, hasn't been seen since in a matchday squad. Maybe one for him as well. So there's lots of if, buts and maybes, but that's my team. Woodman, Bradley, Gomez, Endo, Robertson, Neone, McAllister, Chiesa, Wirtz, Engamoa, Ekatike. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Personally, I would maybe balance it between changing everyone and going strong to try and win the game, because it could be their best chance of winning a trophy this season. But I think Slot, realistically, I think that he will chuck it off, because the league, Champions League, is more important. And what is more important to the fitness team is getting the rest into the legs of the likes of Virgil, Van Dijk, Dominic Szoboszlai. Mohamed Salah is a different one because he's been out of form and did get dropped last week. So maybe he's in the squad, who knows. But there's a lot of players that he will want to just give a little rest to after playing quite a lot this season. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my team, and I'll be back with another video after the game. See you all then.